In the world of K-pop, few names resonate globally like BTS. As a group, they broke records, shattered barriers, and achieved unprecedented success on an international scale. But in recent years, a noticeable shift has occurred, particularly in the American music market. Jungkook, the youngest member of BTS, has successfully transitioned from being part of a collective phenomenon to becoming a dominant solo artist in his own right. This chapter examines the early stages of Jungkook's solo career and how he strategically entered the US music industry with remarkable impact. The momentum began when BTS announced their group hiatus in 2022 to focus on military service and individual activities. Jungkook was among the first to launch solo content. His debut single 7, featuring American rapper Latto, was released in July 2023 and marked an explosive start. The song debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, making Jungkook the second K-pop soloist to achieve this after PSY. However, unlike PSY, whose viral hit Gangnam Style was considered a novelty, Jungkook's 7 was embraced as a legitimate pop hit that blended well with the current American music landscape. What set Jungkook apart was the calculated nature of his debut. The song was fully in English, featured a known American collaborator, and was supported by a high-budget music video that catered to Western tastes. From the outset, Jungkook positioned himself not merely as a K-pop idol dabbling in solo work, but as a serious contender in the global pop industry. This strategy was reflected in the song's streaming and airplay numbers. 7 was one of the few K-pop-related tracks to receive significant rotation on US pop radio stations. The track quickly climbed to the top of Spotify's global and US charts and dominated Apple Music's pop playlists. Within the first 30 days, it amassed over 500 million streams. With the US being one of its largest contributors, American listeners were not only streaming his music, they were engaging with him as a solo performer. Appearances on mainstream American television shows like The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon and performances on platforms such as Good Morning America gave him valuable exposure. Unlike his appearances with BTS, these solo performances allowed Jungkook to showcase his vocal range, charisma, and artistic vision. Jungkook's success wasn't accidental. Big Hit Music under HYB crafted a launch strategy specifically tailored for Western markets. It included viral marketing, teaser campaigns, and social media rollouts designed to build anticipation. Jungkook's personal brand, centered on authenticity, youthfulness, and cross-cultural appeal, was emphasized in press interviews and promotional content. He spoke in English during many appearances, helping break the language barrier that often limits international acts in the US. The impact was measurable not only in terms of sales and streams, but also in public perception. American media outlets such as Rolling Stone, Billboard, and Variety began referring to Jungkook as a global pop force rather than simply a K-pop idol. In interviews, music executives in the US praised his professionalism and marketability. This rise also initiated a shift in how BTS's individual members were perceived. While the group had always emphasized unity, solo activities inevitably highlighted each member's unique strengths. Jungkook's voice, stage presence, and wide appeal allowed him to emerge as the most commercially successful member in the American market. His ability to collaborate with Western artists and navigate the cultural nuances of the American entertainment industry gave him an edge that few international artists possess. Jungkook's solo success in the US also redefined what it meant to be a global K-pop star. Traditionally, K-pop artists achieved international fame through their groups, rarely transitioning to solo success on par with Western pop icons. Jungkook disrupted this model. He became the face of a new era in K-pop where individual talents could thrive independently while still being part of a larger collective. His rise was not without its challenges. Skepticism existed about whether a K-pop idol could truly break into the American market alone. Yet Jungkook's numbers and reception told a different story. His songs received acclaim from critics, and his digital footprint on platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram exploded. Dance challenges, reaction videos, and fan covers of Seven trended worldwide, with a notable concentration in the United States. By the end of 2023, Jungkook had established himself as a top solo artist in America. This marked a significant departure from the traditional K-pop formula and signaled a broader transformation within the genre. His emergence showed that the American audience was not just interested in K-pop as a genre, but was ready to embrace its stars as standalone artists. In conclusion, the rise of Jungkook as a solo artist in the US represents a watershed moment in both his career and the global music industry. His strategic debut, impressive commercial performance, and mainstream acceptance laid a foundation that not only matched but in many ways exceeded the achievements of BTS in the American market. This chapter sets the stage for understanding how Jungkook's solo journey continued to evolve and eventually surpassed even the collective success of BTS in the US. Building on the explosive success of his debut, Jungkook's dominance in the US music scene became even more evident through his performance on various music charts and digital platforms. His releases consistently ranked high, sometimes even outperforming BTS's group efforts in terms of longevity, peak positions, and streaming frequency within the American market. His debut single Seven continued to hold top positions on the Billboard Hot 100 for several consecutive weeks after its initial #1 entry. Not only was it a chart-topping hit, but its sustained performance showed that it was more than a momentary success. The track maintained its position in the top 10 for a total of 8 weeks, which is an extraordinary feat for a non-Western solo artist. Following Seven, Jungkook released another English-language single, 3D, featuring Jack Harlow. This track debuted at #5 on the Billboard Hot 100, solidifying his presence on the chart and showing consistency rather than a one-hit wonder trajectory. The combination of American feature artists, relatable lyrics, and high production value proved to be a winning formula. Then came the album. In November 2023, Jungkook released his highly anticipated solo album, Golden. The album immediately soared to the #2 position on the Billboard 200, marking the highest charting debut for a BTS solo project at that time. It surpassed the previous record set by fellow members Jimin and RM, making it a historic moment in the evolution of BTS's solo endeavors. The album's lead single, Standing Next to You, also charted on the Billboard Hot 100, further demonstrating Jungkook's grip on the American audience. With tracks blending pop, R&B, and EDM influences, the album appealed to a broad demographic and received positive reviews from American critics. Publications such as Variety and Pitchfork noted the album's accessibility and polished sound. On Spotify, the results were equally impressive. Seven became the fastest song by a Korean solo artist to reach 1 billion streams on the platform. Jungkook became the first Korean soloist to enter Spotify's top 10 artists chart globally, with the US contributing significantly to that ranking. Unlike BTS's collective songs, which often saw more balanced international streaming, Jungkook's solo efforts had a higher concentration of US-based listeners. The metrics also indicated stronger radio play. Seven received substantial spins on US Top 40 and adult contemporary stations, which historically have been reluctant to add K-pop songs to their rotations. This was a critical breakthrough. The song's English lyrics and Western-friendly production helped it blend seamlessly with other mainstream pop hits. Apple Music reported similar trends. Jungkook's tracks frequently placed within the top 20 of Apple Music US pop charts, and the album Golden debuted within the top 5 of Apple's US albums chart. These placements signaled more than just fan-driven success. They showed that general listeners were actively streaming and purchasing his music. YouTube also reflected his popularity. The official music videos for Seven and 3D amassed hundreds of millions of views within weeks. In particular, the US accounted for a substantial portion of the viewership, unlike the more globally dispersed BTS content. Jungkook's YouTube shorts and TikTok clips using his music trended consistently in the American digital space. Billboard's year-end reports cemented his dominance. Jungkook appeared in multiple year-end lists for 2023 and 2024, including top streaming songs, top global artists, and top pop songs. This level of recognition was rare for international artists and nearly unprecedented for solo K-pop performers. The Grammy buzz added another layer. While he was not officially nominated in 2024, multiple U.S. music analysts and critics included Jungkook in their Grammy prediction shortlists for Best Pop Solo Performance and Best New Artist. The discussion alone indicated a shift in how Korean artists were being considered in mainstream U.S. award circuits. Furthermore, digital engagement data revealed that Jungkook was outperforming many Western pop stars in terms of audience interaction. His songs consistently ranked among the most shared and saved tracks on Spotify in the US region. On TikTok, soundbites from his songs spurred viral challenges, memes, and fan covers in addition to streaming platforms. Chart and sales data from Nielsen SoundScan and Luminate confirmed that Jungkook's album and singles sold exceptionally well both in digital downloads and physical formats. Despite being primarily a digital artist, his physical album Golden sold over 200,000 copies in the US within the first week of release, a record for a Korean solo artist. Retail partnerships in the US also contributed. Special editions of Golden were sold at major American chains like Target and Walmart, a strategy usually reserved for top-tier Western pop acts. These partnerships not only boosted sales but also increased his visibility in the mainstream retail ecosystem. Overall, Jungkook's chart success and streaming supremacy highlight a paradigm shift. While BTS laid the groundwork for K-pop's entry into the US, Jungkook is redefining what it means to succeed as a solo K-pop artist in the American market. His performance across multiple platforms and chart metrics showcases his evolution from a group member into a full-fledged solo pop sensation. One of the most notable shifts was the way mainstream media covered Jungkook. Leading outlets like Rolling Stone, Billboard, The New York Times, and Variety began publishing detailed articles and interviews that placed Jungkook in the same conversation as top Western pop artists. Rolling Stone referred to him as a solo artist poised to define global pop's next chapter, a significant distinction that positioned him outside the usual K-pop framing. Television also played a vital role. Jungkook made appearances on top-tier American shows such as The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, where he not only performed but also participated in English-speaking interviews and skits. These appearances helped humanize him for the general American audience, allowing viewers unfamiliar with K-pop to connect with him as a solo personality. In addition, media commentary focused on Jungkook's ability to balance performance and vocal artistry. Critics praised his live singing abilities, stage charisma, and evolving artistic identity. Unlike many pop artists reliant on studio effects, Jungkook's live vocals were consistently strong, earning him credibility among music professionals and American audiences alike. Fashion media also took notice. Jungkook became the global ambassador for Calvin Klein in early 2023, launching a campaign that made headlines in the U.S. fashion circuit. His appearances in fashion spreads for Vogue, GQ, and Harper's Bazaar U.S. editions were widely circulated and analyzed. Fashion critics noted his blend of edgy style and classic appeal, making him one of the most influential fashion icons among Gen Z. This presence extended into brand collaborations beyond music. His Calvin Klein partnership led to a measurable spike in sales in North America, proving that his influence translated into economic impact. American fashion analysts called Jungkook a marketing powerhouse, able to reach demographics that traditional advertising had struggled to connect with, namely younger and more diverse audiences. Meanwhile, digital publications and influencers began featuring Jungkook regularly. Platforms like BuzzFeed, Teen Vogue, and Complex created content that resonated with casual music listeners, bringing Jungkook's brand closer to everyday American pop culture. TikTok influencers and YouTube reviewers frequently discussed his releases, styling choices, and media appearances. American cultural critics also started to see Jungkook's solo journey as indicative of broader shifts. Articles in The Atlantic and The Washington Post discussed how his crossover success reflected a dissolving boundary between Western and Eastern pop markets. He was not seen as a K-pop artist in America, but increasingly as an American-relevant pop star with international roots. Film and television shows began referencing Jungkook in scripts or soundtracks, signaling his integration into American cultural consciousness. His music was featured in commercials and background scores for US-based streaming shows, adding to his ubiquity across platforms. This kind of cultural embedding had not even been achieved by BTS during their early years in the US market. The Grammys also began recognizing Jungkook as a legitimate contender. Although he did not receive nominations in 2024, Grammy coverage from Billboard and Variety included him in shortlist predictions, suggesting a growing acceptance of his music within the Recording Academy ecosystem. Such mentions were not obligatory nods to BTS fandom but rooted in data and critical evaluation. The academic world noticed the trend as well. Media studies departments at universities like NYU and UCLA included case studies on Jungkook in their cultural theory and music business courses. Professors cited him as a symbol of evolving global pop identities and used his career to demonstrate the democratization of music through digital platforms. American fans, too, contributed to this shift. Fan clubs, both digital and offline, formed around Jungkook specifically, independent of BTS. US-based ARMY members began organizing streaming parties, billboard campaigns, and event collaborations focused exclusively on Jungkook's milestones. The creation of a sub-fandom within ARMY showed how Jungkook's appeal was now distinct, and in some metrics, surpassing that of BTS as a whole. Another major turning point came when Jungkook was invited to perform as a soloist at the 2024 MTV Video Music Awards. The performance was widely praised, with media outlets such as CNN and The Guardian calling it one of the best performances of the night. Social media trends further reflected this acclaim, as his stage clips topped Twitter trends and TikTok For You pages for days. In short, Jungkook had become a household name in the US not solely because of his music, but because of his holistic media presence. Whether it was fashion, interviews, performances, or fan-driven content, he was a constant presence in American popular discourse. This level of media integration suggested a new model for international artists, one where global appeal is not built from the outside looking in, but from equal participation in the culture. By the end of 2024, Jungkook's name had become synonymous with modern global pop culture. Unlike many artists who find brief fame in international markets, Jungkook was establishing durability. His inclusion in annual, most influential lists by Time, Forbes, and People magazine validated his status as more than just a temporary sensation. As American media, critics, and audiences continued to embrace Jungkook, the gap between him and the legacy of BTS in the US context began to widen. While BTS remained iconic, Jungkook was creating a new benchmark. In the next chapter, we will delve into how his concert tours and live appearances in the US solidified this distinction and set him on a trajectory that few international solo artists have achieved.